Yeah. Okay, perfect. Perfect. All right, so. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Oh, perfect. All right, so. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Oh, perfect. So give me a second right here. I gotta configure a couple of things. That isn't what I want to see. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right into this right now. Okay, so I had about 5 or 6 people. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I had 6 people submit me videos a couple of days ago, giving me permission to analyze these videos on our live stream. So we're just going to take a look at each of these videos for a couple of minutes, and I'll just tell you what I see in their lifts, give my opinions, and keep in mind that my thoughts on what they're doing right, what they need to improve on, is by no means set in stone. People may feel a little bit differently. This is just my opinion, and I'll be the first to say there are many different ways to teach technique, many different ways to break down a lift, and there are people that may disagree with what I have to say that produce phenomenal lifters, produce much better lifters than I do. Plenty of them out there. So yeah, this is just one perspective of many. So let's get right into this lift right here. And guys, you're going to have to give me feedback to tell me how this comes out on the stream, if any of you are actually on YouTube right now. But this is a nice snatch that was sent to me from, I believe this lady is from Austria. So I'm just going to play it a couple of times, let you guys gather your thoughts on what you think, and I will tell you my thoughts on what I think. We'll just play it one more time. Alright, so we've watched it a few times, so let me first point out what I like a lot about this lift. So what I really like is how straight she extends at the top of her pull. If you look, she's risen up onto her toes, her knees are pretty straight, maybe could be straightened out a hair more, and her hips are pretty straight. But if you just look at her whole body, it forms a pretty nice and straight line. So just to illustrate that, of course we have to draw a straight line right here. Just her body is nice and vertical, nice and straight. So I really like her extension, long story short. She pulls straight, so guess what? When she receives the bar, her feet move straight out, as you can see right there. So she catches it pretty straight too. But the biggest giveaway to me that this bar was pulled into the right spot is how she comes out of her receiving position. It's almost like a spring-like effect. Tommy Kono was one of the first people that I came across that pointed this out, and a well-executed pull and a snatch or a clean, once you hit the receiving position, if it's pulled properly, typically you'll spring right up. And again, I know that some coaches may teach athletes to be patient in the bottom because sometimes if a lift isn't pulled into the right spot and a lifter tries to spring up out of the bottom like this, if they would have sat in the bottom, maybe they could have made it. But by rushing the recovery when it's out of place, they end up missing it. But as you can see right here, there's no issues at all with her standing up out of the bottom. Camera shifted to the left. Well, I know it's probably a little bit hard to see right now because this is through my phone on Instagram. But just go to our Instagram story, go to the second story, and you'll be able to see the YouTube stream itself. But anyway, I talked about what I liked about the lift. So I liked how she extends, and I think she pulled the bar into the right spot based on how she springs up out of the bottom like this. What I think could be improved on is mainly her start position. So if we see, so she's gripped the bar, rolling the bar towards her. So the bar is right up against her shins right here. And then notice as she lowers her hips to get into her start position that the bar is rolling away from her. So now, once the bar starts coming off the floor, it's still rolling away from her. So that's the first direction. If you look right here, if you can see my mouse right here, the first direction, the first movement the bar makes when it leaves the ground is up and away. by virtue of the bar starting too close to her shins, to where when she lowers her hips to get set and her shins come forward, the bar is rolling away. So that's the first thing I noticed that I'd like to be improved. And the second thing is her back angle. I think she could get her back more set, more arched and locked in, because right now it's rounded and the bar is put further away from you. But looking from a health standpoint, anytime that you're pulling on a rounded back, all of that, the stress and the load is placed on the spine. If you get your back arched, if you get your back flexed, then all of the load is gonna go onto the spinal erectors. But long story short, I would personally tell her to try to start with the bar just a little bit further away from the shins before she lowers her hips, and to practice just getting her back arched, getting her back set before she starts pulling. Those two things. Because as you can see, if the bar starts right up against your shin before you lower your hips to get set, once you lower your hips to get set, it's going to drift away from you, and then you start pulling off the floor and it's still drifting away from you. So that's the first thing. I wouldn't say the first thing, but yeah, that would be how I would go about improving her snatch. Start with the bar a little bit further away so that when her hips are lowered and set and she starts pulling off the floor, the bar is almost against her shins and the bar is coming straight up off the floor versus up and away. So, all right, let's take a look at this next lift. Let's see right here. This is from Derek, and I'm not sure how much weight this is on the bar. I'll tilt this for our Instagram right here. But and you guys can see this better on the stream right here. But let's see right here. Let's draw a line just right outside of Derek's foot right here and right here. Really more points than lines, but just want to illustrate something. So, okay, as you can see, those dots are right at Derek's heels right here. And so in the pull, the pull is nice and straight, and maybe he could extend a little bit more. But let's watch what happens when Derek goes into his receiving position. So you see that right there, and I'll play it one more time, and then I'll tell you what's going on. I'll play it another time. So the dead giveaway based on those dots right there is Derek is hopping forward to get under the bar and to receive this snatch, which is typically a sign that you're cutting the pull short or an inadequate extension. In Windows Media Player, it doesn't perfectly segment, or it doesn't allow me to play it frame by frame, but as you can see right here, his knees could be just a hair more straight, and maybe his hips, it's hard to tell from here because it's more of a front versus a side angle, but it looks like his legs could be a little bit more extended, both his knees and his hips right here. Just the whole leg could be a little bit more straight. And because when you cut the pull short, the bar is going to be a little bit in front of you, and you do have to dive forward to get underneath the bar and still try to save the lift. So I have to take a step back and say that's a pretty darn impressive receiving position. It almost looks like his hips are in contact with the ground right here. I'm not sure I could ever walk again if I hit a position like this, but yeah, Derek, he does a lot of things right in his pull. He keeps the bar pretty close up until that top part of the pull where it comes away from him. Maybe just try to focus on extending either a little bit longer. And see, now that frame right there looks like his legs are a little bit more straight. So really my advice would be to try to extend a little bit longer or harder at the top. Oh man, I just realized I did not have my microphone on for this whole stream. So that was kind of, wow. Okay. I need to do that over again. So, all right. So let's go over this lift again real quick. And so for the guys that were just watching my YouTube stream and weren't actually listening to me on Instagram, okay. So this lift right here was sent to me by a kind woman in Austria, and I like a lot of things about this lift. It looks pretty clean. She extends very nicely. the bar is directly overhead, she's able to plop right up out of the bottom of the overhead squat. And I apologize. Oh, you could hear me on YouTube, huh? Okay, never mind then. Okay, so we'll just go back to what I was talking about then. So we already went over Derek's lift, so all right. Now we have some, I can't remember this guy's name. I should have written these names down. Okay, so I got this video of a power jerk. It looks like 107 kilograms, roughly 235 pounds is on the bar. So let's just take a look at this power jerk a couple of times. And I wish I had the full video of this. You can see that his feet are cut off from the video. But it looks like a pretty good lift. I'm personally a power jerker, and I like how this looks for a lot of reasons. So let's take a look right here. So what I look for in a jerk is that the athlete gets a straight dip and drive. So a good way to test that, if I can get, let's see right here, if I can just modify this a little bit. All right, and let's just draw a nice line right here, and just see how the bar moves in relation to this line right here. All right, so you dip down, and all right, so the bar, the end cap of the bar, as you can see, is to the left of this line. So he dips down. That end cap is staying to the left of the bar right there. Now let's see on the drive up. Maybe comes forward just a hair, but for the most part right there, I would say that's a pretty straight dip and drive. Maybe his hips could drift back a touch more on the dip right here, because you can see his hips are it's maybe subtle, but his hips might be tucking in just a little bit right there. But the drive, I think that's a fantastic drive on the jerk, because his knees, his whole body is straight. He's thrusting the bar off of his shoulders. So I like this a lot. Now on his receiving position, I can't see his feet, but it looks like right here, after he drives, I can't see it right here, and I can't play the audio on the desktop right now, but it sounded like his feet were not landing flat. It almost sounded like a galloping sound when he was landing. So that kind of led me to believe he was landing with his toes first before his heels landed. And so whenever you perform a snatch or a clean or a jerk, or a power jerk in particular, you want your feet to land flat when you go into the receiving position. When you land on your toes first, that's going to pitch your balance. It's going to pitch your body weight forward. Okay, I'm just making sure that my audio is still working. And so I'm wondering if that's what happens, and it could just be the weight coming down on him, but his torso inclines forward a little, and he has a little bit of a twisting motion too, and that may just be from the way that the feet landed. I'm not completely sure, but I'll just point out from what I could see, I did like this lift for the fact that he had a pretty straight dip and drive, and he got a nice full extension on the drive or the thrust upward. His legs are pretty straight. The bar's coming right off of his shoulders, so very happy with that. Next, I have Miss Marion right here, and she goes by the Instagram moniker of She Lifts Bro, which I think is to elicit that she does utilize weight training as part of her training regimen, I think. But I am excited to go over her lifts. So first, no, that's not a line right there. I'm trying to draw a line. Give me a second. This is all very new to me. Alright, so let me draw a line in front of her toes right here. Draw a line behind her heels right here. And just for fun, let's draw a line right in the middle of the end cap of that bar. That ought to do it. Alright, so I'm going to play this video over a few times, and you guys tell me what you see on this right here. And if you guys can't see the lines, like you're not going to be able to see this through my Instagram stream right here, because the lines are actually on the stream. Like this is a screenshot of the actual stream, so you're missing this stuff that I'm drawing out. So go ahead and check out the YouTube stream. Yep, that's exactly what's about to happen, or that's exactly what's happening in her snatches right here, or her snatch right here. I'll just play it a couple more times for the people tuning into the stream. We'll do it one more time. Alright, so, and again, guys, you want to watch the actual stream itself so you can see what I'm talking about on the lines, because this Instagram video is not showing this stuff that I'm drawing right here. But, okay, so her feet, and when she's pulling, are starting within these two lines that I have drawn out right here. When she finishes pulling and then goes to receive the bar, where are her feet? She's jumped 3/4, I would say, of the foot length back to receive this bar. And the bar, as she receives it, look, she hits her receiving position right here, but pay attention to the end cap of the bar right here. The bar is still going back and still going back and still going back. And as she recovers, she almost is sitting backwards as she's recovering versus, or she's almost, yeah, she's like drifting backwards as she stands. Just notice the path of her shoulders as she's standing up. Because the bar is still pulling her backwards, so she has to kind of sit backwards even more to make it. So, for those of you that have followed me along, you're aware that I am not of the opinion that jumping back is a technical fault. I think as long as the body is pulled directly underneath the bar, so long as the athlete is jumping the feet out or slightly back, and it's permissible, and like making the lift is the name of the game in most instances. But something that I've observed is for athletes that jump back, usually on their warm-up weights or their lighter sets, they don't jump back. Their jump back is just very small, very slight, and as the weight gets heavier, the magnitude or the degree that they're jumping back becomes more and more. But on this is a pretty significant jump back, even on this warm-up rep right here. And many different things could cause an athlete to jump back, but what I think is happening is pay attention to her feet right here. So if you notice, let me see if I can, I don't know if I can zoom in, but so as the bar starts approaching an athlete's hips, you would like for them to remain flat-footed up until they come to this power position right about here. And I'm not sure if you could see it on the stream right here, but she's pitching onto her toes a little bit early, right around here. She's already a decent bit onto her toes. So if your weight's coming forward, so you have the bar in the middle right here, and say your weight is sitting maybe around here, well, to stay balanced with an object right here, you're going to have to counterbalance by putting something right here to still stay balanced. And that's exactly what happens right here. She pulls her shoulders back to still stay balanced with a bar from her weight shifting forward from being onto her toes. So see, now she's on her toes. She's pulling onto her toes, her heels are off the ground, she has a bar right at her hips right here, so to counterbalance with it, she pulls her shoulders back. So maybe if Marion, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, it's a French name, but maybe if she's tried to stay flat-footed a little bit longer during the pull, maybe up until right here she was flat-footed, because right now, this is the last point that she's flat-footed, and the bar is maybe at about mid to upper thigh. It's not quite at the hips yet. But maybe if she tried to stay flat-footed a little bit longer, she wouldn't jump back so much, but the bar wouldn't loop around and drift back so much. Like, it's taking a pretty drastic horizontal path right now. Like, look again where it's starting right here, and look at where it's finishing right there. Again, I don't think that jumping back is a bad thing. I'm more concerned with how much the bar is moving back horizontally, and this is 50 kilograms. As you can see, she's power snatching this right here. I want to say she snatched close to 80 kilograms. So yeah, Marianne, if you're watching this, maybe try to think about staying flat-footed a little bit longer during your pull, and see if that doesn't help the bar from drifting back so much. Jumping back isn't necessarily a bad thing. You're just trying to wedge yourself directly under the bar. It becomes an issue if you're jumping back and you keep missing the lift out in front. If you're not actually receiving the bar directly overhead. So if you're jumping back and you're missing the bar out in front, that's when it's an issue. If you're jumping back and you're jumping back because the bar is going back, then that's typically fine. You're just trying to make the lift. All right, so the next lift is from Celsius. Him and his wife visited my gym a few months back. I believe he's from Pennsylvania. And this is a miss with what looks like about 100 kilograms. So I'll let you guys watch it a couple of times. Pretty close lift. I thought he was going to have it when he sent that to me. And so he starts with the bar very close to him, and he starts with his hips pretty low. So you notice his knees are pretty drastically over the bar, pointed slightly out. But he does a great job of getting his knees out of the way to get the bar off the ground. You can see, and it's hard to tell here from this straight shot angle, but the bar is coming relatively or pretty vertical. Again, I can't tell unless I'm watching more from a side angle, but it looks like the bar is drifting up. He's getting his knees out of the way, the bar is coming up. And so right here, he extends pretty straight. I can't quite see his knees and hips, like how extended or straight that they are, but it looks like his body is pretty elongated right here, pretty straight, pretty vertical. And so he goes into his receiving position, and one arm is locked out, his left arm right here, and his right arm looks like it's just a little bit bent, so he's not able to fix the bar overhead, ends up having to dump it. The biggest thing that jumped out to me on this lift is his feet. So let's have you guys observe. I hope this comes out all right. Watch this foot right here. So if you watch his right foot moves out. His right foot actually leaves the ground and shifts out. But that left foot, his toes are staying planted on the ground. And so that's just causing him to catch the bar unevenly when he goes into this receiving position. And notice, like, it almost looks like he made the lift right here. So I just have to wonder if he changed something as slight as just getting that left foot to move in his receiving position, maybe he would have been able to get low enough under the bar to still make the lift. So Celsius, if you're watching this, maybe try to practice some drop snatches or snatch balances, or just in your warm-ups on the snatch, focus on moving both of your feet when you're going into the receiving position. But yeah, the pull looked pretty good. It's just, yeah, it just looks like that left arm locked out, the right arm didn't, and you're moving your feet out to get into a comfortable receiving position, but if only one of the feet are moving, then your receiving position is going to be a little bit unstable, but you may not be able to get into as deep or as low of a receiving position as if compared to if you would have moved both of your feet. So that's my advice on that. And we'll take a look at one more video. I may have had a few more videos sent. I just chose five here today at random. Had some technical difficulties, but if I didn't answer it, I'll message you later and tell you what I thought. So here is, it looks like a 75 kilogram snatch right here. And so we'll just play it a couple of times. And hey, this guy makes the lift, so had to do a good amount of things right to make a lift with what looks like, I don't think this is a max effort weight for him, but it looks like it's challenging enough. So again, I can't tell too much about the movement of the bar, how much the legs are extending from a front angle. The legs look pretty straight right here, and trying to watch the bar in comparison to stuff in the background, it looks like the bar is moving straight up. So happy with that. But the biggest thing that jumps out at me is, again, the movement of the feet. So this time, let's watch this lifter's right foot and tell me what happens. So right there, look, his left foot has already begun to shift back to put him into a receiving position, but that right foot, those right toes in particular, is still driving through the ground while his left feet are already moving back. So now his foot moves, and you just see it's just a very staggered and jagged receiving position. So he's not catching that bar straight. He's like pretty crooked when he's receiving that bar, and it's light enough for him to make the lift, but what I would recommend for this athlete right here is to practice driving off of both legs, or just to think about being aware of driving off of the left leg as well as driving off of the right leg. Very common for people to have one dominant leg, and they're going to favor one leg more than the other. That's why it's important to do unilateral at times, especially for weightlifters when we're doing bilateral movements requiring both sides of our body, because we're using a barbell. You develop tendencies to use your dominant side even more and even more. So right here, if this athlete kept snatching like this, he'll be able to snatch more weight, but what's going to happen is this asymmetry, or this dominant leg driving more off this leg, as he snatches more and snatches heavier weights, pulls heavier weights, he's going to continue to develop this leg a little bit more than this leg. So he's actually going to augment the difference in strength between this right leg and this left leg. So in relation, the right leg in relation to the left leg, he's only going to keep making this leg stronger. So the most straightforward approach would be to think about driving through the left leg more, or just being aware that you have two different legs and you're driving through both legs, versus just thinking of a blanket thought of like drive with the legs or whatnot. That probably also wouldn't hurt to do some unilateral work, just various movements with the legs, whether it's step-ups, lunges, one-legged Romanian deadlifts. You could think of a million of them, and I'm just a proponent of using the shotgun approach in instances like that. But yeah, I think that the biggest thing that jumps out at me is just getting this athlete to drive off of that left leg more, just driving more evenly in general, because you can see right there like how wild of a pull under that looks right there. But athlete moves well, and I have no doubt that him and his coach are working on that, and we'll correct that. Alright, so yeah, that's the end of my first stream. I'm not sure how long that lasted, but if you guys have any questions at all, be sure to message me, give me feedback. Again, I know this was pretty sloppy, and I'm pretty sure, even though someone in my Instagram channel mentioned that they could hear me, I'm pretty sure that I had my audio off for the first half of the stream, so that was a goof on my end, and I'm not happy at all about that. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in.